Welcome back to the Ed Morrissey Show podcast. I am delighted to welcome back one of my great friends, great friend of the program as well, Jeff Dunetz from lidblog.com, at YidWithLid on Twitter, and here to talk about really the way that the Middle East has changed dramatically over the last 2 years, but really over the last few weeks. And it starts with Israel deciding to settle all family business. Jeff, I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu was serious when he said he was going to change the face of the Middle East, and he certainly accomplished that.
Well, I think that it was planned with Trump together.
Yes,
and they worked together.
Well, I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu did a lot of this before Trump got elected, too. I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu decided to go after Hamas. He decided to go after Hezbollah. And he held off on Iran until Trump got into office. But he had already just largely destroyed Hezbollah last, September, October. And then, of course, that led to Assad falling, too. I mean, so Netanyahu did a lot of this despite the United States, really, during the Biden administration.
Well, he also, before Trump, he destroyed a lot of Iran's anti-aircraft material. So, yes. But once Trump became president, it's like, okay, guys, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, right? Because Trump really wants to, I think he really wants to be seen as the guy who settles all these wars. And he's tried with Ukraine and Russia, and today he's frustrated, so he's starting to send more arms back to Ukraine again. But there were moments where it looked like he was trying to get Iran to just simply stand down, right? And I think maybe that was a little overblown, that the idea that there was some daylight between him and Netanyahu. But Netanyahu had to navigate that pretty carefully.
Trump said 60 days, and on 61st day, Israel started bombing Iran.
Yeah,
they were doing it together, and Bibi approved of what Trump was doing. I think they did it together.
So he's at the White House today. What do you think that they are, other than nominating Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, club that maybe is...
I thought I should get it.
Well, I'm not necessarily sure that anybody should be looking forward to this thing, given that they gave it to Yasser Arafat, of all people, 30 years ago. But
and they gave it to Obama, and I'm not saying that's bad, but they gave it to him before he took office.
Right. Yeah. Before he had a chance to do anything. It was pretty stupid. But what do you think that they're talking about right now? Obviously, Iran is not done, right? They're heavily damaged, and the regime is probably about ready to fall internally, but it hasn't fallen yet. What do you think they're talking about today at the White House? What do you think Netanyahu is Iran the focus, or is Gaza the focus, do you think?
Actually, it was last night.
Last night. Well, yeah, they're meeting again this afternoon, by the way. They're going to meet again this afternoon on Tuesday afternoon.
People of the Congress. Yeah. The thing is that you said Trump the peacemaker. He wants Israel to make peace with Hamas, and he's trying to put something together. The thing is that he's not putting together what he said he wanted and really what Israel wanted, which is get rid of Hamas out of Israel and release the hostages. And that's not happening.
Is there any negotiating with Hamas at this point? I mean, because this has been my argument for a while. And I know Trump really wants to do a deal where he can say, I created peace. And he's largely set the stage for it, right, with the Abraham Accords. And we're talking about Syria now, talking about joining the Abraham Accords, and also Hebron. I want to talk to you about the development in Hebron that we read about in the Wall Street Journal yesterday. But But Hamas is a different animal, right? I mean, Hamas is an extremist ideological cult that is very similar to the cult that's running the regime in Tehran. And I don't think that they can. I don't think that exile and surrender or capitulation is an option for them. I don't think that they feel it's an option for them.
Well, just a biblical side note. In Hebrew, in biblical time, Hamas meant riot. So it's very interesting that way. Yes, I don't think Hamas. I don't think that Hamas wants peace. They want Hamas.
Well, they want the annihilation of Israel. I mean, this is the Muslim Brotherhood. They want the annihilation of Israel. They want a very radical form of Islam to be imposed on the region, and that's why I don't see prospects for much in the way of a peace. I think the only way that you're going to be able to deal with this is, and this is where we get to the Hebron thing. This is where we get to some of the stuff that's been happening in Gaza behind the IDF security cordon, is to enable the clans to start, regulating, start controlling these territories. Now, they've already done that a little bit in Gaza, but then the sheik in Hebron made an offer, right, or at least made a declaration that he wants to coexist with Israel. He wants to join the Abraham Accord. He wants to, commercially partner with Israel, but he wants to establish an emirate in Hebron based on basically clan rule. Is that really the way forward for Israel in dealing with Gaza and to a certain extent the West Bank? I mean, if you do enough of that, you probably can get rid of the Palestinian Authority too.
Well, if you believe Israel, and I do, there's no such thing as West Bank. It's Judea.
I agree. It's an American construct.
No, I'm not correcting you. I'm correcting what he might think. Okay, and he comes out and says that maybe 5-10 minutes before he's shot.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this guy's been saying this. He hasn't said joining the Abraham Accord. That's new, but he's been talking about having an autonomous area that would partner with Israel. I think this is a little bit further down that road, but both he and his father had been talking about coming to some sort of peaceful coexistence with Israel, but as its own political entity, if you will, an emirate based in Hebron. I think
Israel would be really cool with it.
You think Israel?
That's what he said yesterday. Would be very cool with that.
I would think that this is.
He said yesterday.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He said yesterday that he wanted to create individual areas with the Palestinians to create peace.
Well, at some point, Saudi Arabia is clearly going to make some sort of requirement of autonomous governance for Palestinian. Now, I don't know if they want a state based on the Palestinian Authority, if that's their red line, the Saudis' red line, or if this type of thing would be acceptable to Riyadh. But the Saudis are going to drive this to a large extent because Israel needs them as sort of the linchpin of this-regional alliance. Where do you think?
Really, the big thing will be what happens with Iran, because they were saying who's scared of Iran, but one's Sunni, one's Shia, and each one thinks they're the king of the Muslim world. So, but long term, I still think that he's just looking for one thing to put it over the edge. So that might be the one thing to put it over the edge, because he wants to make a deal with Israel, because he wants the extra money from the United States, because that's what happened. That's really the Abraham Accords are not, I want to make peace. It's, I want to be part of the economic deals.
Well, let me ask you this. That's part of it. The economic deal is part of it. I mean, economic engagement is part of that. Most of these places are already economically engaging with the United States anyway, though. They want to economically engage with Israel because that's a pretty good economy there and they want to engage it. But part of it was also security. And if the regime in Iran falls and it's replaced by a Western looking democratic republic of some sort, right? Does that actually impede the progress on the Abraham Accord? Because a large part of the motivation of that is basically to prevent Iran from expanding their hegemony in that region.
Well, look at what happened before the Ayatollah took over. I mean, it was a peaceful, economic Western type country, and
Right.
they didn't make peace with Israel, but they did it
True.
all. They did it all behind the back. Their back. You don't think that Saudi Arabia isn't working with Israel right now?
Oh,
They're
of course
working,
they are.
right. So it's not that big of a deal. They just, again, I think they just need something to be able to say, hey, look, they did this, so let's be their friend.
What are the next moves in regards to Iran then? Trump is talking about still negotiating with this regime. The regime is saying that they might be open to it, although they're very, very angry, Jeff. Very, very angry with the United States for violating their territorial integrity.
Oh, let me ask you something. If you were the supreme leader, wouldn't you be?
What, angry?
Yeah. I'd be
Well,
angry as soon as Diana Ross left the Supremes.
yeah, but I think after 46 years of yelling death to America, and America deciding that they didn't want death and let you know very precisely how they felt about it, there is a certain amount of FAFO that goes with that. And I think I'm certain that they want to seem very offended by this, but they can't have been terribly surprised by it. And not to mention the fact that, of course, Iran has actually been targeting Americans for decades.
And it'll only take them 5 years to replace the nuclear sites. And
Well,
the question,
I don't know about 5 years. It's going to take a few years at least because we destroyed the metallization thing, which is a critically important piece, and it took them many years to build that in the first place. I think they're down to a few hundred centrifuges, and you need tens of thousands of these things to do what it is that they want to do. That's going to take that alone will take a few years, but it's still a danger. It's not done yet.
they have a lot at 60%, and really all you need is, you do need 90%, and it's not a big jump from 60
No,
to 90.
yeah, people don't know that, but it's
And
algorithmic. It's almost the next step is what it really turns out to be. I think they have some that's at 83%, and that is
these
the next step.
no math.
Well, meaning it's not linear. The effort becomes a lot less to get to make larger leaps down the road. But a lot of that I think is probably buried at Fordo though too. I know that people are saying, "Oh, they moved it out of Fordo. They moved it out of Fordo." Well, they would have either moved it to Natanz or Isfahan because those are the two places where it would be needed. But Fordo was supposed to be
Ford
their.
already over 90.
I mean,
That's what
that's their
people
redoubt,
aren't
right?
realizing.
You wouldn't
They
move it
were
out of
already
Fordo.
over 90.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't move it out of Fordo, is what I'm saying. And if you can't access Fordo, then you can have all the 60% you want, but if it's buried, there's not much you can do about it.
But it's not 60%. At Fordo, according to, excuse me, folks, ISIS, which is a international nuclear investigator. It's not the ISIS we know. They say the Fordo it was over 90,
Well, I
which is
hadn't heard that
scary.
they got into 90. I had heard that they got into 83%, but yeah, it's very close. I'll just put
Right.
it that way.
And if it was, from 60 to 63 to 90 was easy, just imagine. I have to ask my son, who is the math major, how easy it is to go from 63 to 90.
Yeah. It's easy. And this is what they were trying to explain, is that it's not a linear progression, it's an algorithmic progression. It's extremely easy to go from 60 to 90%. And
Oh, the
that's the
other
reason
thing
why.
is people don't realize it's not Israel, it's the United States. It wasn't just the little Satan. They were also going after the big Satan, which is us.
Yeah,
Okay. And if they can get that fast to get a nuclear bomb to get Israel, they could also do it that fast to get us. And
yeah,
people are saying, "Well, we're doing all that for Israel." Well, you know what? We're doing that for us too.
absolutely. Absolutely. Especially with the ballistic missile program, they can reach American bases. And they kind of gave us a demonstration of that towards the end. It was a lame demonstration, but a demonstration nonetheless. And so you can't afford to let them have a nuclear weapon, because they'll put them on the tops of the ballistic missiles and send them all over the place. And they're working on an ICBM, which means that the United States would be within their target range. North Korea already has one.
Well, John Kerry promised in the Senate meeting that they wouldn't be able to do a ballistic missile. He promised. As a matter of fact, there are some people who say he got down on his knees and begged Iran to agree with him. This is not a joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me, by the way. All right, Jeff. Well, I mean, we've covered quite a bit here. What do you think is next for Israel here? Do you think that they're going to cut a hostage deal, or do you think that a deal is even possible with Hamas in Gaza?
Well, I think that the population wants a hostage deal more than anything. The problem is that every time they try to make a deal, it's not the whole thing. Like even now, what they're talking about is 6 months for 10 hostages, which, if it was me, and it's not me, I just do what they did before, which is bomb the heck out of them. Yeah.
I don't see any way around it. You and I have written about this over the last, well, since October 7th, so the last year and a half, a little over a year and a half now, is that the hostage, they need to end the market for hostages. And the only way to do that is really to destroy Hamas and say, even if you take hostages, we're still going to destroy you. And they haven't been willing to do that up until now. Are they willing to go all the way on this? Do you think Netanyahu's ready to go all the way on this? And this is a huge problem for him because, as you said, the population, the Israeli electorate, it's a democracy, right? The Israeli electorate sets a very high store on hostages, which is one of the reasons why Hamas is able to exploit it. Are they prepared to put an end to this once and for all, and to make it very clear that you can't destroy Israel by hostaging?
I don't think that Trump will let them. I mean,
Yeah.
he's so into being the world's peacemaker. I don't think he's going to let that happen. He's going to say, Israel, okay, be happy with 10 people at a time, because there are only 20 people alive.
Yeah.
Everything else they're trying to get is dead bodies,
Yep.
because that's really a Jewish way, that you bury them in a Jewish way.
Yep.
And the
Yeah.
thing that they don't realize, it's not only Jews, it's Muslims, it's all religion were killed in this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Jeff
Even
Dunetz from
with-
lidblog.com. What's coming up next for you at lidblog.com?
Well, I mentioned it before. There were 20 incidents or giving money or giving things that aren't in the JCPOA that helped Iran get a bomb.
Yeah.
So, 12 things. Actually, it's 21 things. And that's what I'm writing about, and hopefully I'll finish it tonight. But yeah, it's these countries that are complaining about Israel gave Iran money, gave Iran permission to do things that weren't in the JCPOA. So why are they complaining?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, you can read more about that at lidblog.com. It's Jeff Dunetz at Yid with Lid on Twitter. He's still on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it's Jeff.Dunetz now.
Oh,
So
you're not Yid with Lid anymore on maybe that's why I haven't been seeing your stuff.
No, because when I was sick, I was sick for like 3 years, and I lost my. They changed it, so they gave me a new one.
So it's Jeff.Dunetz. See, I'm looking it up while we're talking. It's Jeff.Dunetz.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, and I'm following you there too. So, yep. Or at Dunetz Jeff. At Dunetz Jeff.
Yeah, and it's Lidblog.
And lidblog.com is the website. Absolutely. All right, Jeff. Good talking with you again. Thanks for doing this, and we'll talk again soon.